Hello everybody, my name is KingStix and this is patch notes 8.22 rundown. It just dropped, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. First off, AKALI is getting nerfed. The last hit assistance is being removed on her W, and the W cooldown is being increased at early ranks, and the R damage is being decreased early. So what you need to bear in mind when you're looking at this is the cheater no longer has 4 last hit assistance. That basically means absolutely nothing. And then on her W Twilight Shroud, they're only reducing it at early ranks, which is good. Hopefully this will let you abuse her a little bit more in the early game. 4 more seconds at level 1 is somewhat substantial. Something to keep in mind is she normally maxes her W second anyways, so this only should be somewhat relevant until she's like level 11, and in which case you shouldn't really see a difference. So pre-level 11, her W should seem like it's on a fairly longer cooldown, but once she's level 11, it shouldn't really matter. And then we have AKALI's R losing 15 base damage, which really isn't that much. It's just really not, because for what it does. Then it's getting 15 at level 3, so it's losing 15 at level 1, but then getting 15 at level 3. Overall, this will make AKALI a little bit easier to play against in lane phase, but she's still going to be OP. Alright, Fiora, she's just getting a quality of life buff on her Q, on how it prioritizes targets that have her ult on them, or her passive. That's all you need to know. Jhin is getting a bug fix as well with his passive movement speed. Just, if you're a Jhin main, I would look at this. Otherwise, it's really nothing to worry about. It's just a couple of bug fixes. Now, LeBlanc is extremely abusive in lane right now with her dash, especially with how much damage it does. Thank God they're removing some damage on it. They are only removing 10 damage. Do I think this is enough? Not really. Do expect to still see a lot of LeBlancs and a lot of AKALIs, guys, because they're still pretty good. And then we have Maokai. This is hilarious to me. His E cooldown is being decreased and damage early is being increased on his E. I think this is absolutely hilarious because the Riot Balance team is so out of touch with the meta that they think giving a crappy little buff to a champion like Maokai will let him jungle. The only viable junglers right now in solo queue are junglers that can take a red buff and then gank and then pressure scuttle crabs. To give you guys an example of what I'm talking about, I'll just go look at all the top junglers right now on OPGG, and I'll just read you them off. So for the jungler, number 1 is Taliyah, number 2 is Nidalee, number 3 is Xin, number 4 is Graves, number 5 is Camille. What do all 5 of these have in common? They can all take red buff, gank, and then pressure a scuttle crab. That is the meta right now, is red buff and ganking. Now Evelynn does beat that rule a little bit, but then we still have the same thing with the Lee Sin, Kindred, Pantheon. So the majority of the top 10 by far are just red buff gank junglers. And let's find Maokai. I don't even think he's on the list. Yep, Maokai is not on this list. He is simply over here. Absolutely funny to me, because then over here they're saying, yeah, this should help him out in the jungle. He's not showing up on the jungle list because he can't jungle properly comparatively to other jungle champions. So I would completely disregard this change right here. And then we have Nunu, who's been in a weird spot. They're giving him 4 base AD, and then they're giving him a fairly large buff on his Q, giving it a lot more healing on enemy champions. Just to give you guys an idea, I'll read off some stats. Level 1, it's going from 37 base healing to 60 on a champion. Not only that, but the scaling is going from 0.35 AP and 5% of your health to 0.56 of your AP and 8% of your health. On the AP increase, that is a 21% increase, and on your health, that's a 3% maximum health increase on your hill. So I do strongly believe that Nunu will be a good pick against enemy teams that are low damage. I know that is hard to find these days, but if the enemy team is reasonably low damage, I believe Nunu will be a good pick because he can just pretty much infinite sustain off of his Q, especially if he has a Spirit Visage. So picking him into an AP enemy comp might be decent now. Pyke is getting a... They're really changing how he's supposed to be played back to his roots. Most recently, especially in higher elo or in pro play, anything like that, Pyke is always built with a Frozen Heart or a Maw of Mortius, and then usually one other tank item to really abuse how hard it is to kill him. They're trying to change that to make him build lethality and play like an assassin. So to do this, they are actually giving him an overall sizable nerf, especially if you do play in higher elo. Now, if you do play Pyke in low elo, this will be a buff for you, but for everyone else, who's not in low elo, it won't be. All right, so starting off, his passive, the healing is being nerfed sizably from 25% of your max health plus 21% per 100 bonus attack damage up to 50% of your max health, all the way down to 80 flat plus 8 per 1 bonus attack damage up to 60% of your max health. So in the late game, it will be giving you a little bit more percent of your max health if you are stacking AD items. If you're not going to be getting any health back. If you're just rushing Frozen Heart, then your passive is going to be complete shit. So that's pretty much going to kill Frozen Heart first item on site for Pyke. And then on his W, he is getting the mana cost reduce on 3 of his spells. That way, by not building Frozen Heart, you won't be deprived too much. So the mana cost is coming down. And then the movement speed on his W is getting gutted really hard at level 1. It's going from 60% bonus movement speed to 40%. That is huge. But it is now going to be scaling off of 1.5% per 1 lethality. So overall, Pyke's W is going to be much slower, especially in the earlier game. I think that's a good thing since his W is extremely annoying. Once again, lower mana cost, and then the stun ratio is just going to be staying at 1.1 second at all ranks, and then it is going to be increasing per 10 lethality. So they're really trying to drive home build lethality on this champion. I've never seen a champion actually scale with lethality like this on their abilities. All right, now his R is also getting a change. Execute threshold and damage done if the target isn't within the threshold is being increased per your lethality built. All you need to know is Pyke is going to be weaker, a little bit weaker in the early game initially. Don't build Frozen Heart on him, especially not first item. And yeah, just stack lethality items now. He's going to be not as good in high elo for sure. Trundle has been on the bottom of the jungle list for a while now. It looks like he just beat out Sejuani. I don't know how. I don't think this buff is going to be enough to make him like anywhere close to the top. It probably won't even be able to bring him past 30, to be honest. We'll just have to see. It's a pretty small buff, just giving his Q a little bit more damage. Like I said, guys, the only true viable junglers right now to win with high percent win rates are people who can take red buff level 1, gank, and then pressure scuttle crabs, etc. So he is not really one of those champs. His level 1 gank is level 2 gank with red buff is pretty shit. And then Victor, this is something I was pretty bummed about. They are nerfing him, but they're also kind of buffing him. So they are nerfing the base damage on his Q at max rank by 20, which is very little. On the ratio, actually getting a AP buff on his Q. So he's losing 20, but they're also buffing the AP ratio by 5%. So in the true late game, it shouldn't matter anyways. And then on his R, the base damage per tick is being reduced by 20 at level 1. And then at level 3 by 60, which is fairly substantial. But then they are increasing the AP ratio by 15%. Even though they are giving him these AP ratio scalings, by nerfing the base damage, I think this will really hurt Victor's current state since he's mainly played as a top laner and he just abuses base damage and builds garbage items like Frozen Gauntlets. So by them increasing AP scaling and nerfing base damage, if he were to rush things like Frozen Gauntlets, put him not in a great spot. I think this is a well-deserved nerf. I think they could have gone farther by nerfing the Q cooldown, especially at earlier ranks, but I definitely do like this nerf. Time Warp Tonic is ridiculous rune that isn't even a keystone, which makes it to where the only thing viable mid lane in terms of mages is something that can take Corruption Potion and use it effectively just because of how strong it is. To balance out this overtune rune, they are removing its effects it had on elixirs. Previously, if you had an elixir, let's say you were Ezreal or just a normal champion who bought one in base, that would give you 5% increased movement speed for the full duration of the elixir. So thank God they are removing that. They are also removing the fact that potions, biscuits, and elixirs were granting 20% longer in terms of you would get 20% more mana, 20% more health out of it, and the time it lasted was 20% longer, which was kind of crazy because then people could keep reapplying their Corruption Potion burn. This will actually be a huge nerf to Ezreal since he takes Kleptomancy. I'm really excited for this, so that should cut down on his movement speed, should cut down on his sustain. It should stop Corruption Potion laners from being too out of hand like they currently are. Hopefully this will bring back some Doran's rings. They are adding something to help it out. Consuming a potion or biscuit grants 50% of its health and or mana restoration immediately, but prevents that consumable from being used again until the effect ends. Health mana tick is then reduced by half for the effect's regular duration. So what they're saying is the new effect of it is whenever you pop a potion or biscuit is you'll get half of it immediately, and then the other half you'll get slowly, and then you can't immediately chug another one to abuse the 50% initial consumption. They're just doing this to make it a little bit better for trading and surprising your enemies with a little bit of a health boost. I think that's fine considering how hard they nerfed it. They probably needed to add this. I'm excited what they're doing with that rune. And then we have some bug fixes and some upcoming skins and chromas. Honestly, I'm pretty tired of chromas. It's just, they're not good. If you're gonna do a chroma, do it for the champion, not for a skin for the champion, because forcing someone to buy a skin and then get chromas for that skin is kind of silly. All right, so we have program Nami. It looks fine. I'm not personally a huge fan of the style of skin. The technology base looks kind of goofy to me, but I know there are people who are into that, especially the Tron nerds and stuff. And then we have the LeBlanc, same version. And then we have a Fiddlestick skin, who cares, trash champion. And then we have Graves, dope, looks like a robot Graves, RoboCop Graves. That's what's going on here. And then we have, of course, Victorious Orianna. You'll only be getting this though if you're golden up. So all of you people trying hard in silver, your efforts will be fruitless. Victorious Orianna. That's gonna wrap up these patch notes. If you guys enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me out a lot. My name is KingStix. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.